welcome to my channel Trofanye. My name is Nigeli and I am a medical herbalist. In today's video, we're going to talk about the things that you can do when your child first starts their period, or things you can put in place when your child first starts their period. Now, I'm doing this for a number of reasons. One, we want the period to be a pleasant experience. It's a perfectly normal function to have, and we want this to be as pleasant as possible. Two, there are a lot of things that women are facing later on, like fibroids, endometriosis, PCOS, that I personally believe if we had an understanding of our bodies, we can prevent these occurrences, or at least minimize their occurrences. And a lot of this is to do with period health and lifestyle health and understanding your hormones. And some of the things that I'm going to suggest are helpful in helping the child to understand their hormones. But also, your child has started their period, you have no clue what they need to do, and you're just looking for some advice and what things to consider. So these are the things that I would either do or explain to my child to make periods a pleasant experience, but also get them into certain habits that if something does go wrong, they will know and understand early enough to be able to seek treatment before it's too late. Number one, track their periods. And how will they do that? Now, I would advise buying a calendar so that you have more of a visual in terms of what their menstrual cycle is like. And it also helps them to understand more about their body, because you're not just tracking when their period is, you're also tracking things like when they might be ovulating. So what discharge they'll be looking for, which I'll talk about later, but also things like PMS, like are they feeling particularly teary-eyed? Are they feeling angry today? Are they feeling mood swings that they want to just throw everything in the bin? And when they track this, it will help teach them that these are perfectly normal occurrences. Also help them predict and prepare for when their period might be, or when ovulation might be. But at the same time, what it does is that over a period of time, you'll have an understanding of their cycle, how long their cycle is. And then if something changes, you'll be able to either pinpoint what might be causing that change, or there might be something more serious going on. So when you track and you have an understanding of when certain things might happen each month, you will then notice quick enough when something might be changing or something might be wrong, and then you'll be able to seek help earlier. So one thing I'll definitely do is track periods. Now, there are apps to do this, but my preference is a calendar, and then you can have stickers that mean different things. So a red sticker might be when the period, it might be a white sticker might talk about when, they might be having a little bit of discharge. And then you might have different color stickers for when they're happy, when they're angry, when they want to just throw all their toys out the pram. But it helps you track, know when something wrong is early enough, and give them the understanding that the menstrual cycle isn't just about the period, but what happens throughout the month. Number two, period products. Now, I'm a pads girl. I only use pads. I'm not a fan of tampons. I know that a lot of people use moon cups, but I have never used a moon cup, so I don't actually feel qualified to talk on moon cups. So I'm going to talk about only from a pads perspective. Now, I've got a sample of the pads that I use. So first, when I get a pad, and or you're getting a pad for your daughter, I will always choose one with wings. And by wings, what I mean is these little flaps here, right, on either side. The reason why I like wings is, one, it keeps the pad in place, because when you're on your period, you're not just sitting doing nothing, you're going around your day, and this sticks. And you want this to stick and stay. So as the person is moving, the pad is not moving. Another thing that you may not be aware is that period blood could go everywhere. It will come right up your backside. It will go right at the front, and it will go to the sides. So with wings, it covers. The ones I find that don't have wings can curl up in the middle, leaving the sides exposed. And a lot of the ones that I've seen, they don't stay in place. So I always buy ones with wings. Another thing that I look for when I'm buying pads is the one with the most stars. So as you can see, this one here is 3 stars. And this just describes how much blood that the pad holds. And then the other one is 4 stars. Usually, so this means this holds more blood. And what you also find is that when it has more stars, there's usually less pads. So this has 14 pads in it, and this has only 10. But the reason that I prefer with more stars is, one, it will definitely hold more, and I always like to be very careful. And what you'll find is that the ones with more stars usually also tend to be longer. So I'll open this one. So you see the difference in length between the ones with more stars and the ones with less stars. And again, the reason why I like them long is because sometimes the blood come at the back. Sometimes the blood come at the front. I want to keep all my bases covered. So when I'm buying a pad for my daughter, my niece or nephew, or whoever you're buying the pad for, I'll get the ones with wings, the ones with more stars because they hold more blood, but also tend to be a lot longer. Now, the other thing I look for in pads, and the reason why I bought this brand in particular, which is from Wilko, who've now closed down. I went to buy a load, but this is the only 2 boxes I have left. So Wilko, can you come back? Because this is organic cotton, no chemical absorbents, plant-based material. So you will find, like it says, no dyes, no perfumes, no pesticides, no latex. Some of the pads, right, you go near them. In fact, go to a supermarket, walk down the pad aisle, and before you've even seen the pad aisle, you will smell the pad aisle, because now they've started putting all these chemicals or whatever it is to make the pad smell nice. You don't need all of that down there. We're trying to protect ourselves from future issues right now. So if you have a pad that is smelling like a top-notch perfume, avoid it. You want a pad that doesn't smell of anything. So always go for the pads that don't smell of anything and don't have any of the extras. Also, one thing that, you know, when you're having a conversation with your child about their period, I would always say that when they're changing their pads, no matter where they are, that to just don't put it in the bin like this. Wrap it up. If you have to, roll it around with tissue and put it in the bin. So I would always say that to them. The other thing is, if cost is really an issue, you can also purchase incontinence pads, which are very good. The pads tend to be a lot thicker. As you can see, these are quite thin, but the incontinence pads are really thick. So if you don't mind those thick pads, you can get a cheaper alternative purchasing incontinence pads. There's also incontinence panties and period pants that you could also purchase. As I said, I'm a pad girl. I like to just remove it whenever I need to remove it and add a new one when I'm ready to add a new one. So in terms of pads, I hope, you know, you're looking for ones with wings, ones that are, you know, have more of the blood symbols that hold more, and therefore would be longer. And you're looking for one without the perfume, because we don't need perfume down there. 3, have period products to hand. And, you know, I always like the idea of making periods a very pleasant experience, a fun experience. So, you know, go out with your child and find a nice, you know, you could just have like a square case that is basically a little bit bigger than the square of your pad. And I would have that with me on hand all the time. And the reason being is that periods can surprise you. And sometimes, as much as you might be regular, one monthly might decide to come early. So I would have a small little case to include some of my period products. And what I personally will include is, I will include a couple of pads. I would include some panty liners, which you can use for those days when you might have some discharge, or, you know, you don't have to. And just to add at this point, there is nothing wrong with bleach panties. The discharge that will cause the panties to bleach a little bit, it's completely standard. It is normal. Don't let anybody tell you it's not normal. So I would have some panty liners in there. I would also add a couple of bags of my favorite tea. So if that day does come and I'm somewhere, then I'll have maybe, for example, a couple of bags of chamomile tea in my period case, and I'll have it in my bag at all times for those moments that you start your period and you're like, oops. Another thing I almost forgot to add in the pack is some big girls panties. Because if you are out and you start your period and you're wearing thongs, those thongs are not going to hold these pads. So I would get some big panties that are comfortable for you, but will also hold the pad in place beautifully and keep you as covered as possible. So big girl panties, some panty liners, so a couple of pads, and also a couple of your favorite tea bags. If you're in a place where you can access hot water, make yourself a nice, beautiful cup of tea, go about your business and live your life. Now, hygiene. I would say hygiene is very important. Hygiene is important, full stop. During this time, it is definitely important to bath every day and use water for the inside. So the way I would describe it is, where the hair is, use soap. But where it isn't, like on the inside, use water. That should be enough. If you're finding that you're still smelling, the issue is probably you've put too many soap products down there and your pH is now completely off and you're now producing a scent. You need to get that checked. Or there's something else serious on, you need to get that checked. Or the issue is related to your really bad diet and your poor hygiene and your you know, you're not drinking enough water. So sort out the diet, sort out the food, and, you know, bath as you should with soap on the outside where the hair is and water on the inside, so that you can keep fresh. And you don't, I personally have never needed to use any perfume products and have had no complaints. It does not smell. Water is fine on the inside. So yes, I'd say hygiene is extremely important. So just have that conversation with your child. Sometimes during that time of the month, I, you know, wash twice a day, because I don't know about you, when you have your pad and you're walking around and you're running around and you're a little bit sweaty, you come back and you just want to clean before you go to bed. So I would say make sure you wash that area cleanly and dispose of your pad properly, as I explained previously, and you should be good to go. Then there's diet. We've heard it all before. You've got to drink enough water and you've got to have your fruits and vegetables. And that is always important. But you have to remember that periods are an orchestrated, it's almost like an orchestra in your body. Certain moving parts, all correlated. And you need the nutrients for your hormones to work as they should and all the other parts of your body to work as they should. If you want a long-term good period, then a good diet directly correlates with that. One of the tests, especially for the younger ones, is like, we need to poo every day. We need to make sure that we're pooing every day. If we're not pooing every day, it means that we're constipated. So please, fruits, vegetables, water, good diet, good variety, and you are going to be on the right track. And then again, I feel this is very much a part of making periods a pleasant experience and making the menstrual cycle a pleasant experience. And I would say that on the days where you know the period is coming up or they're feeling very some kind of way, to have to hand the things that make them comfortable. So I would even go out and get me like a period blanket, like, and there's not a specific period blanket, but a blanket that's so beautiful that when you have it on you, it keeps you warm enough and it makes you feel good. Then have a nice hot water bottle. Make sure it has a cover, make sure that you don't overdo it, use it, even have clothes on top so you don't burn yourself, but get like the nice, most beautiful hot water bottle, a beautiful, gorgeous notebook so that they can write their feelings down if they're that way inclined, have their favorite book to hand, their favorite movie, and just let them be themselves during this time. We have to allow for time out. And then other factors I forgot to mention, number one, is that when you're tracking the periods, also remind them about, because one thing I learned late in life is I thought the end of my period was the start of my menstrual cycle. The start of your menstrual cycle is actually the first day of your period. So when you're tracking your period and you're talking to like your doctor about your cycle, remember that the first day of your period is actually the first day of your menstrual cycle, and it starts from there. So tracking the period helps them understand that terminology, and you can have that conversation with them. Always leave room for them to have that conversation. So those are the pointers I would give for somebody who's just started their period, or a parent whose child has just started their period. I feel like if you put these things in place, we will have more healthier periods. If something does go wrong, you will know early enough when there is something wrong with their periods, and therefore be able to seek treatment early enough, which will then, you know, lead to a higher success rate. But then it's about opening rooms for our children to have that conversation with us, and so that we will understand what they're going through. It is a perfectly normal experience, and we need to open up the conversation about it. And hopefully this video helps. If you or any of your children have questions about periods, do feel free to drop them in the comments below, and one day I'll do a video and hopefully shed some light on it.